If you care at all about how much profit you make per project, I'm going to walk you through how to track exactly that inside of Monday.com. By the way, if you'd like us to help you set up Monday.com for your business, check out the link below. We would love to help. As you can see here, I'm inside of my example Monday.com system. Now, profitability is the most important thing for any business ever. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to track your projects, how to track your revenue per project, and then ultimately track your cost. Cost in this video is defined by labor in time. So how much time has someone submitted or worked against a particular project, okay? And then we're going to work out their hourly rate. So we'll define their hourly rate, the total number of hours worked, and then the total number of cost per employee, and then ultimately rolled up to the project level as well. First and foremost, we're going to go ahead and create a projects board. This is, by the way, in no way the most optimal way to manage projects, or at least this is the absolute basics of project management inside of Monday.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to actually manage projects in Monday, check out other videos I have on my channel. But just for the sake of this video, I want to keep it really, really simple. So we're creating this first board. This is our projects board. Our privacy options can be either main, which means that projects accessible to anyone, private or shareable, private only you and select individuals, or shareable. If you'd like to share your projects board outside to other people outside of your Monday.com account, you're more than welcome to. And then we just need to select our terminology. So in this instance, it's obviously going to be projects, and then I'm going to go ahead and press create board. So while this loads, and now it has loaded, I'm just going to walk through the absolute basics of project management within Monday. I'm working under the assumption you already have a projects board of some description. So we'd have, let's say, new projects, active projects. I mean, we don't even need this just for the sake of this video, but for the sake of being thorough, let's do it. Completed projects, and then we would probably have, let's say, cancelled / postponed projects. As I'm sure you can imagine, projects do unfortunately get cancelled and they also get pushed back. So put that in the red, that in the nice green, new can be in the dark grey there, and then change the status options. So we've got new, we've got active, we've got cancelled / postponed, and then we have completed. Yeah, there we go. And then we will reposition that just above, change that to a nice purple, and we're pretty much there. Project management inside of Monday.com is completed. No, well, obviously there's a lot more that we would want to go ahead and add, but for the sake of this video, I just kind of wanted to give you a basic idea of the project. So you've got obviously new projects, active, completed, and then cancelled projects. Now, there's a lot more you would want to add. Check out the other videos on my channel. The one thing that we are focusing on here is our cost per project, our revenue per project, and ultimately our profit per project. So in order to work out our profit, we firstly need to have our revenue. So we're going to go ahead and add a numbers column. This numbers column is going to be our project revenue. Very easy. 3 dotted button settings. We'll customize this. We'll put this into the $, and then we'll hide the column summary. So this here, item 1, is example project number 1. And then this one can be example project number 2. And then we'll delete the rest of them just to keep things super clear. Okay, so I'm just delete those 2 records, and then I'll put this one into the completed area, and then we'll move that to active. Cool. So now our project revenue for example project number 1 is 180,000. Or no, let's keep it low, $1,800. Okay, and then our project revenue for example project number 2, let's say, was $4,500. Cool. So now we've kind of got our project management from our revenue perspective set up within Monday. The next thing that we're going to want to do is, how do we firstly even log time? How do we log time? How does the logging of time then work out the cost associated with the time based on the person that's submitting the form, blah, 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 blah. So we can go ahead and press the plus button. We're going to go ahead and create a new board. And this board is going to be called time submissions. So obviously, you submit time against the project. The person that's submitting the time has an associated cost. That cost is then worked out based on their hourly rate, and then obviously also their the amount of time that they've submitted for, and then it's associated with the project. That project works out the cost. So time submissions, privacy, I'm going to leave it as main, and then I'm just going to change the terminologies to submissions. There we go. And go ahead and press create board. So we've got our time submissions board now. The first thing that we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create a connection between our time submissions and our projects. Well, actually, before we do that, let's just clean it up. So we don't need this, and we just call all time. So we just put time submissions. Really, people might not use this board. They might not engage with this much, to be honest with you, because what we're going to do is use a form for the submissions. So we'll delete the files column. I don't think we're going to need a status column. I mean, let's leave it for the time being. I'll just hide it. And then we'll have a start date / time. So we use this date column, start date / time. So this is when they started working. And then what we'll do is 3-dotted button, just go to settings, go customize, and just say show time by default. So we need to work that out. Obviously, show time by default. So we know they started at 9 a.m. on the 18th of August or the 20th or whatever the case might be. And then we've got another date column, and then the date column for this is going to be end date / time. So I want you to imagine that I submit time against the project. My start time was 9 a.m. My end time was, let's say, well, first is 3-dotted button settings, show time by default, and it was on the 20th of August. In fact, at 9:30. So I finished working on this particular thing that I was doing for this particular project at 9:30. So it's 9 till 9:30. Now, there are time tracking tools available outside of Monday.com that can then integrate with Monday.com to work out profitability or project cost and then consequently profitability. You would still need this set up anyway. So this is kind of like step one in a multi-step process if you're using, let's say, Clockify, which is the time tracking tool I would personally recommend. But anyway, okay. So we've got our start time and end date and time. We now need to work out the number of hours between those two. So we're going to go ahead and add a formula column. And I've already prepared the formula. This is the formula you want. Type formula. It's days and then end date / time, comma, start date / time times 24. Okay. So that gives me 0.5, which is obviously 30 minutes. So total time. I'm then going to go ahead and hide the column summary and then restrict the column editing so people can't interfere with this formula. So if I, obviously 0.5 it is half 30 minutes, right? If I then change this to, let's say 10 o'clock, you can see here that that's then what? 1 hour. 1 hour worth of time has been worked here. Cool. So then the next thing that I need to do is I need to work out the hourly rate. Okay. So we're going to create a new column. This is going to be a numbers column. And we're going to say hourly rate. Now, an hourly rate is typically defined. So let's just put this in the dollar, and then we'll hide the column summary, and then we will restrict the column editing. The hourly rate is quite often going to be defined by the person that's submitting the time. So, for example, on average, a full-time employee, roughly speaking, works about, I think it's 2,000 hours a year. So if you take their annual salary, so let's say their annual salary is $50,000, and then you divide it by 2,000, that will roughly speaking give you their hourly rate. So if you're on a $50,000 salary and you work 2,000 across that, this includes holidays, by the way, you need to factor all of that in. So essentially the total cost of an employee to the business divided by the number of hours that they work across the entire year. So on average, a full-time employee is 2,000. Let's say the total cost of the business is 50,000 divided by 2,000 gives us an hourly rate of 25. Okay, so $25. Now this varies per person. Naturally, if someone is on a $75,000 a year salary, or let's say $75,000 cost of the business per year divided by 2,000, their hourly rate would be, as opposed to £25, it would be £37.50. So we need to think about working out, or what we do need to do is work out the hourly rate per our employee, which is defined by the person column. So whoever's submitting the time. So the way we're going to go ahead and set this up is we're going to go automate, top right hand corner. We're going to go ahead and press create automation. And then we'll say when an item is created, and then say, and only if person is assigned to Nick Boardman, then we're going to go ahead and set number to, and the number being the hourly rate, to their defined hourly rate. So you will need to do this for every single one of your employees. So let's just imagine that my hourly rate is 45. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and create automation. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the status column as we do not need it anymore. So what we're saying is when a new time submission is created, it defines the hourly rate automatically based on the person. So let's use another example. So we've already got when an item is created and it's Nick Boardman. Let's add another one. Let's say when an item is created, and only if in this case the person is equal to Alex, then we're going to set number to, and this is the number of obviously the submission, hourly rate to, let's just say hypothetically Alex is on, or Alex's cost to the business is $70 an hour, right? So we're setting the hourly rate. So this is based on person. Again, I repeat, you will need to do this for every single one of your employees using the formula of the total cost of business divided by 2,000. If you want to be more precise, you can actually work out the total number of hours they work across the year and then do it from there. But this is kind of how it would work, right? So then now we have our start date, our end date, which gives us a total amount of time worked. We then need to work out the hourly rate. So the hourly rate, well, not so, and we have the total time and hourly rate. We need to work out the total cost. So this is where we're going to add another formula column. So it's very simple. We just need total time times hourly rate. Hit enter. So in this case, only 1 hour has been worked. So very simply, the formula, the total cost is $25, which is really pretty simple, right? If I then change this to 11 a.m., there we go. That will give us a total time of 2 hours. 2 times 25 is $50. So that's our total cost. Again, what I do is just restrict the column editing on here so no one can make changes to this. And then let's say I'm going to make this, 9 a.m. and then 19th of August, but I finish work at 4 p.m. That gives us 7 hours at $37.50 per hour is $262.50 or cents if you're over in the US. Now, if we want to make this a little bit more weird, so let's say 42 as an example, it still works that out. So 7.7, 37.5 times 7.7 gives us $288.75. Okay. So now we know based on the time submission, start date, end date, total time, hourly rate, and total cost that have been submitted, and it's defined by person, which I'll come on to in a moment's time. Then what I want to do is just add a date created column. So it's a date column, very simple. It's going to be called date created. And then what we want to do is click into this 3-dotted button, just restrict the column editing. And then we want to go to automate and then create automation. And then we would just want to say when an item is created, we will set the date. So set date created to today. So, wrong one. Sorry. Date created to today. So that means that every single new time submission that is created on this board has a date created. So I'll just show example time submission number 1. The reason we want to do this is because then I can track how much time my employees are submitting on a weekly, monthly, daily basis. I can then see that. I can then also see how much time per project across a whole month. I can see if people are being underutilized, overutilized, if they're quote unquote lying about their time or they've made a mistake. So now we've got date created, okay? And the final thing that we want to do, which funnily enough I said was the first thing we were going to do, is actually then create a connection between the time submissions board and our projects board. So we're going to select boards and then connect our time submissions to our projects. We want to make sure we press create a two-way connection, okay? So then this is going to be our project. And we can go ahead and hit enter. So now we're associating our project with our time submission. So now I can click into here and say that this particular time submission is associated with the example project number 1. Amazing. And let's go ahead and just enter. I will delete this. Yeah, there we go. That can go. And then let's enter some example data in for here. This is the future. I'm working in the future. Fantastic. We'll just say this is 11:30, 2.5, my hourly rate being 55 in this instance, and that gives us 137. Let's say this is associated with example project number 2, and then let's put this as example project number 1 as well. So we've got all of the data there. Let's just call this example time submission number 2. Copy that, and then I'll paste that as number 3. Wrong order, but you get the idea. So I've got my time submissions. Now, if I go to my projects board, I'll be able to see the time submission connection. So time sub submissions as a connection column. I can then see all of the time submissions associated with this particular project. But where this gets a lot more interesting is then I can go ahead and mirror over the total cost from all of the submissions. So I use a mirror column, connect to the time submissions, and then work out the total cost. So this is total cost based on the hours that have been submitted by my employees, which is based on their total cost of business and ultimately their salary. So now I've got project revenue, I've got my total cost, and obviously what we're ultimately looking to achieve here is using the formula column. I can then go ahead and say, give me the difference between project revenue and total cost. What I'm going to do is just change that to project cost, that makes sense, and just press insert formula. So now I'll just change this to project cost. Oh, I've already got the cost bit. Now I have project profit based on the actual data that we are tracking. Like, this is real data. How profitable are we? Put that in the dollar sign. I will then hide the column summary, and then I'm just going to go ahead and restrict the column editing. Just make this a little bit bigger so we can see it easily. And we can see now that we have our project revenue, our project cost, and then our project profit, which is absolutely game changing because this is real. This is based on real data. So now we've kind of got the basic setup. Let's look at what step 2 looks like, which we've got 2 options. Fortunately, and as of the time of this video, Monday.com now has this new set column as required feature. So I can set all of these columns as required, apart from the project column. Oh, that's odd. We'll come on to that in a moment. So set column as required. We can go ahead and set column as required. This obviously wouldn't be, this wouldn't be, total cost wouldn't be either. So the only 3 that needs to be submitted really, and that's a bit frustrating. I didn't know that that wasn't possible for a Connect board. But anyway, now if I want to create a new submission, I can just show only the 3 required columns. I give it a name. So I just open that up again, show 3. So I say example submission time submission number 4. Person is going to be me. My start time was the 19th at 9, and then my finish time was the 19th at 11:30. And I go ahead and press create submission. That will then create a new time submission, automatically work out my hourly rate because I am the person that is associated with this, and then give me my total cost. The problem is it doesn't force me to connect to a project, which I can't for the life of me work out why that is the case. Inside of Monday Sales CRM, that is definitely possible. We're in work management at the moment. So here is the alternative option. And personally, I actually prefer this option because what I would typically do is I would restrict the column editing. I would just make this board private. I don't really want people to be going on this. And then I'll go ahead and create a form. So I'd use the standard Monday.com forms. Couldn't create a view. Great, thanks Monday. So I'll try again. Hopefully it can create a view this time. Couldn't create view. Oh, no. Apparently we're not going to be able to create a form. That's not good. I wonder why that might be. Who knows? Can we create a form on here? Or is that not going to work either? Oh, we can create a form on the projects board. We just can't create a form on the time submissions board. Now that's very odd indeed. I wonder what has happened here. Let's, okay, we're troubleshooting live. Let's duplicate the board and see what happens now. See if it works. There's obviously a bug of some description. So let's just press that and go form. Is this going to work now? Ah, it has worked now. So we'll just delete that. I'm sorry you had to see that, but you can see Monday.com can be quite glitchy sometimes. So we've got our time submissions. Obviously, everything that we've created already exists and nothing has changed here. There's still a connection column as well. So on our time submissions, we now have our form. And this form, if we go to edit, top right-hand corner, we want to go ahead and just set up the form so they answer the questions that they need to. So the name of the time submission, I would make that required. And then you could give them context on how to complete the naming. The naming is not overly important. We then have the person. So we want the person to be available to be used on the form so they can submit the person. Bear in mind, if we're going to go down this route, which I suggest we do, this form will only work when other people that have an access to your Monday.com account are using the form. Just bear that in mind. So person columns required. We then want the project to be required as well. So we want to make that required. There we go. So they can select the project, and we're going to make a change in a moment, but start date / time is going to be required. To include time, make sure that is also ticked. And then also come on here and then we'll do required for the end date / time, include the time as an option. And then the hourly rate we can hide. We don't need the hourly rate, that's already predefined. And then the date created we can hide as well, because that's obviously going to automatically populate. I can then use this tick box bottom left hand corner to show the hidden content or hide it in this particular instance. You can see here we now have our questions. Now if you want to mess around with all of the form settings, you're more than welcome to. I change the design and things like that. The only thing I will change is the naming. So we've got time submission form. Cool, there we go. So now we share the form. If we go ahead and what we do, copy link, and then or just press preview top left hand corner. This will take us to our form. I'm going to call this example time submission number 1. As you can see, I'm going to select myself as a person. I'm gonna have to blur all that, apologies. Select myself as a person, and then I can select the project. Now at the moment it's allowing me to select multiple projects, which is a bit problematic. What we can do is go back to our main table, and then if I go to my projects connection column, go to customize and just unselect allow linking multiple items. That means only one project can be associated, and then I'll just hit refresh here. I can see I can only select one now as opposed to being able to select multiple, which is what we don't want to do. We don't want someone to be able to select multiple projects against a time submission. And then we've got a start date and time, so we can use this feature here and just say, yeah, I started at 10:51, perfect, and then I finished at 12:51. Sure. Once I've done all that, I can just hit the submit button. So that will automatically complete and create a new submission here. I don't know why the project's not populated automatically. Maybe just hit refresh. That's very odd. I had selected it, hadn't I? I don't know why that's happened. We'll investigate that in a moment. Oh, no. Our automations have not carried over from the duplication. So we'll go to manage. Where are my automations? So we'll have to run through this again. So when item created and only if person being me is equal to Nick Boardman, then set number 2 and set number 2 hourly rate being 50. There we go. Create automation, just as an example. And then I suspect as well, we might have to just create a new connection column here. No, this is connected the other way. I don't know. Let's try again. So go to our form, go to command. What we can do on our form settings, by the way, is we can go to edit form, and then we can go to settings, and we can allow multiple submissions to allow submitters to make multiple entries. So if I turn that on now and go to number 2 and just hit refresh on this form, I can then submit again. So an example time submission number 3. Select the person being myself, the project type, example project number 1. Let's just put in, there we go, that's all good, perfect. And then select 12, submit. That's going to create hopefully a new record. Go back to our main table. I don't know why the project's not working. We'll figure it out. But what you can see is the hourly rate is automatically populated, which is good. So that automation's fixed itself from the duplication. This is quite embarrassing for Monday.com, if I'm being honest. The fact that the form thing just wouldn't work on that previous board, so we had to duplicate it. So what we're going to do, and this is quite good for just troubleshooting, I guess, we're going to create a new connection column. We will, in fact, before we create a new one, we'll delete the old one. So we'll just delete the old one and then create a new connection column. This is going to be connected to our projects. Create a two-way connection. Just call this project. And then what we'll have to do, because all of those will have just disappeared now, well, I should have done anyway, is I will delete that. And then we got the new time submissions. And there we go. So this is the new connection. Then I'm going to add a mirror. We've already got actually no, we will need to add a mirror. There we go. Add a mirror. And then connect the mirror to the time submission. So we're literally doing what we've already done, which is then total cost. So this is project cost, hit enter. And then we've got project revenue, project cost, the project profit. There we go. So just do insert and then just change that to project. There we go. Set formula. Okay, cool. So hopefully let's try the third time, see if this is working or not. So we've got time submissions here. And then we're going to go to our form, but you're going to have to make changes to that form because obviously we deleted that column. So that project column, we then need to go ahead and make as available again, and then also change it to being required. And then we can reposition it up here. So we can just drag it. Cool. So I'm hoping now, main table, this is going to work. I'll be very disappointed in Monday if this doesn't work. So let's go to preview. Just check that this makes sense. We've got name, example, project number 4. There we go. We've got the person, just assign it to myself. Project, example, project number 1. Start date and time is that. Yep, sure. And then end date and time is 12:57. Let's be awkward. Press submit. That should then hopefully create a new record, connect to the project, which it hasn't. Oh dear, what is going on Monday.com? This is not good. Anyway, you can see that the total cost is work pulled through. The problem is it's not connecting to the project. I do not know why that is. As you can see, it should obviously connect to the project. It is in beta, so there might just be some Monday.com glitch at the moment. Alternatively, what we can do is use a platform called Superforms, which we are going to do now because this isn't working and I can't end this video on something that's not working. So it's an app in the app marketplace. Go to three dotted button, go to power ups and then app marketplace. And you're searching for an app called Superforms and just hit search. This is the one we want. Okay. You will have to pay for this, but it is significantly more reliable than Monday.com's form, evidently. So I've already got the app installed. So I'm going to use the Superform app. It's exactly the same function, and that feature that should be available on the Monday.com forms is just not working. So the name is going to be required, the person's required, the project's required, start date and time is required, end date and time is required, total time not required, hourly rate not required, total cost, day created, and then update can all go. We can change this hideous blue color to, let's just go with white for the time being. There we go. So that's fixed. And then we call this time submission form. Oh, I'm having to think on my feet here. What's going on Monday? And there's going to be an insert form. Everything else can remain the same. Destination group. Yeah, that's all fine. So now we've got name, person, project, start date and time, end date and time. You might just want to click into the cog here and just allow time selection and then just press save. And then also in the cog, allow time selection for the end date and time. And then what we can do is go ahead and press preview. This is our Superforms now. So now I'm going to do example project number 5. Select the person again as being myself. Project is example project number 1. And then we've got start date and time at 12, whatever. And then select the drop down menu. And then I'll change this to, let's say, I don't know, 1300. 133103. That's not going to make sense, is it? We've got 9, 10, 12. What's going on? Why can't I say? Oh, that's why PM. Let's say I finished at 4:00. Cool. Oh my God, what's going on now? What's happened? What's going on? Okay, I don't know what happened there. I clicked something and then go ahead and press submit. This should now create the record on our board, main table, connect to the project automatically, which it has, worked out that it was apparently 15 hours of work, an hourly rate of 50 based on me as the user, total cost $750. That then rolls all the way up to the project. We can see the total project cost, the total revenue, and ultimately the project profit. I apologize, this video has been so long-winded. We've not had much luck with Monday.com today, but that is how to do it. Now, if you then wanted to integrate Clockify with your time submissions board and then Clockify submissions and update time submissions in Monday and then updates the projects, you can do. That's kind of the step 2 of all of this. I'm glad we got there in the end. Use the Superforms form, share the form internally with your team. They can then select the project that they're working on. They can select the user that they are, then they can submit time submissions against projects, which will allow you to look at your cost and look at the profitability. And then you can also report on your time submissions as well. So you can see who's submitting what against when, total cost per employee, blah, 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 blah. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Apologies for the mess. I might refilm this. I might not. If you do need any help setting up things like this for your Monday.com system, if you'd like us to help you set up Monday.com, check out the link below. We would love to help. If you've got any questions or concerns or requests, drop a comment below. I'll try and get back to you. And if it's a really good question or comment, I will make a video answering your question or comment. Anyway, thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.